Hello, everyone. Good morning, and welcome to the Talent Pavilion panel discussion, where we will be talking very much about mapping out a career shift in the financial sector. My name is Simeon. I'm a lecturer from the Singapore Polytechnic School of Business. In fact, I did a pivot in my career from investment management over to academia. Right, so quite a few interesting stuff to share during this panel discussion. But with me, my guest today, I have a very distinguished and very cool personnel as a guest. So I have with me first Mr. Lawrence Yong, sorry, Associate Professor
I'm not the
Lawrence
PM.
Yong. Yes, from SUSS. Right. Lawrence, would you give a quick introduction of yourself?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think I have also pivoted a couple of times. So my career started in traditional finance. I worked in wealth management and global markets. Thereafter, I founded a fintech company, ran the fintech company for about 8 years, exited, and then joined another fintech company to help them venture build a new venture. And recently, I thought that hey, I've always loved learning, so got myself involved in academia, right? Yeah, so that's me.
Thanks, Lawrence. And we also have with us Adam, right, from Atomic Recruitment. He has spent quite a bit of time in talent acquisition. So maybe, Adam, could you give us just a short introduction of yourself?
Okay.
Thanks.
Hello, guys. My name is Adam, and I am currently at Atomic Recruitment Group. I do have over a decade of recruiting experience, and prior to Atomic, I was in-house doing talent acquisition at Property Guru, who also have a fintech division, which I, of course, helped hire for. I personally also had a career pivot earlier in my life. I started as a translator. So I managed to completely change what I'm doing. So this is definitely a topic that's something personal to me, and I look forward to getting into the discussion.
Thanks, Adam. And last but not least, we have Andrew, a dear friend of mine who I actually knew from the blockchain industry. So Andrew has made a very good transition from TradeFi to DeFi, and now he's back at TradeFi again. Come, Andrew, just a short intro.
Thank you, Simeon, and good morning, everyone. So, Andrew, I run product at Maybank Investment Banking Group here in Singapore. And I guess quite relevant to me as well, having done the career shifts that Simeon has mentioned. I spent the biggest part of my career in traditional finance, predominantly in large banks and brokerage firms. And then I transitioned across to DeFi. That's where I met Simeon. And for me, there was similarities in certain market structure and certain elements. And that's why you do see a lot of transition from traditional finance into the sort of DeFi space. I've come back around into the banking industry with the view that at some point, TradFi and DeFi aren't going to be separate industries, and it'll all be sort of one.
Thanks, Andrew, for that. And actually, there's this team that's been going through both in FinTech Festival as well as what my three esteemed guests have been saying, which is really about, I think, about upskilling and reskilling, right? I think this theme has been recurring across government policies, across SFF, even Talent Pavilion itself is, talking very much about upskilling and reskilling. So maybe I can touch on, maybe Lawrence, you can touch a little bit on that. Given your experience both as a venture builder and then now in academia, now how do you see this whole theme? How will it actually help with a person's someone's want to shift in the financial sector?
Yeah, sure. So I had the privilege of attending some of the talks over the last 3 days. And I think I just want to have a quick share about what I've heard from some of the speakers, right? I mean, they are all senior leadership in the major financial institutions. I think, first off, if you look around, the theme of this festival, AI is definitely one of the largest theme, right? That's going to change a lot of the ways we're going to do things, the way business will be done. The second theme would be about actually risk management, because alongside with AI, then you will have a lot of additional maybe cybersecurity risks. And there was one session about quantum computing where people were actually, wondering about how to safeguard assets, right? When when quantum computing comes to the fore, will they be able to hack all those encryption that is, that we are traditionally, using, right? We're using those cryptography techniques. And then the third thing, which is like the big news over the last week, is what? Is the election of President Donald Trump, right? And I guess, all of us also thought that, okay, this is going to be a very, maybe a VUCA world. I mean, this is like VUCA squared or VUCA cube, So we got to get used to it. And, therefore we need to have a degree of agility and adaptability, right? Towards, navigating the future. So under that backdrop, I think, you can already maybe try to piece together some of the big moves that, I guess with the advent of AI, with all these, new digital technologies that's causing risk. I mean, particularly in the financial technology sector, there's going to be quite a bit of skilling, right? That needs to be learned and sometimes maybe unlearned, right? Or relearned, right? So, yeah. So I think that's where I think we, with that newfound knowledge, with newfound awareness, we can try to maybe think about how we could reskill, retool ourselves, and to take advantage of the upcoming trends.
Exactly right, and I totally agree with that about quantum computing, and particularly if you know about it, right? In Bitcoin uses SHA-257, and with quantum computing there is potential for such cryptography to actually go obsolete. Now, there are also talks about quantum proofing crypto or digital assets. Andrew, maybe you could shed some light, based on your experience in blockchain, DeFi. What do you think about the current landscape and the changes that we are seeing thus far?
I mean, is this in regards to how we shift careers? Okay, so having seen firsthand, being involved in this technology, right? Whatever you want, broadly blockchain, broadly Web3, touching into quantum computing. What we do know is that the speed at which this technology improves and develops is much faster than many other things that we have in terms of workflow and processes in our day-to-day work lives and in our day-to-day businesses. So I think obviously, like, for me, I'd say education is the key, right? So when we talk about reskilling and upskilling, that essentially is education. And, when you want to make that shift across, whether that is as an individual or whether it is as an organization, making that shift into using these new technologies as part of your workflow and work processes, 100% the most important thing and the first thing you need to do is education, right? So I think that is a big part that has been missing, right? The reality is there's more of us who don't know about all these emerging technologies than people who do, right? And the people who do, that there's a big broad spectrum of those who know very much just surface level things. So very excited about what the potential and the use cases and how these things make our lives more efficient, more productive, giving us time to do other things that we enjoy in life. But like, for me, it's all about getting that 101 down pat, not just as individuals, right, but organizations as well, who have to come along with this ride, right? Because, quantum computing's not going away, blockchain's not going away, right? The DeFi space has been around long enough now that it's here to stay.
Great, thanks, Andrew, for that. And actually, I just want to get your thoughts about this, Adam. As a recruiter, right? You go through tons of resumes, and sometimes the JDs or the resumes don't exactly match up with the resume doesn't exactly match up with the JD. And it's not because of a lack of education. It could be a lack of packaging or lack of understanding. Maybe you could share a little bit about your experience as a recruiter.
Yeah, correct. I mean, I think the most important thing is with so many jargons out there and buzzwords, it's important to, as Andrew was saying, to get a fundamental grasp of what these buzzwords and jargons mean. Prove to your recruiter, or certainly to your future employers, that you've made the effort, and ideally you've done a project using these technologies. So this is the key thing, like not just listing buzzwords that will get you the interview, but then being able to follow through with tangible examples of how you've used blockchain technology, for example, or generative AI in your everyday work. I think this is partly, as Andrew said, it's partly on the companies that you're in. If it's a progressive company, they'll proactively be looking to upskill their employees. But in the case that it's not a progressive company, the onus should be on you. And there's an unlimited amount of resources out there, from Skills Future, for example, to generative AI itself. You can actually learn quite a lot if you just put your mind down to it. So I would say, if you're going to put something in your resume to score the interview, make sure you can back up what you put in your resume by giving some clear examples of how you've utilized that tech.
Great, thanks, Adam, for that. And actually, on that note, I understand that SUSS has this new MSc program, right, on fintech itself. How do you see such a program actually helping someone to do a career transition within the financial sector?
Yeah, thanks, Simeon. Well, yeah, actually, I think it's quite exciting that SUSS is introducing a new program, and I would say that this program is kind of takes into account even some of the geopolitical development in the region. So they are launching a Chinese Masters in Financial Technology, which is aimed to kind of converge the two worlds of Chinese fintech and I guess the Anglo-Saxon world of regulation and fintech. So in that particular module, or in that particular program, there are three main themes to it. One is on AI ML, which is very topical to today's development. The other part is about blockchain and digital assets, and then the third part is, which is another big trend in this SFF, right? It's about regulatory development, because when we're talking about financial innovation, right, we have to understand that this is not an e-commerce sector. This is not an unregulated sector. So regulations still play a very big part in how we're going to introduce new services or new products. So whoever who is going to be innovating or creating new business models in this space will have to inevitably need to align or to synchronize with the regulators, with regulation. So this, I think they are enrolling now. I mean, they are inviting applicants to apply. I think the program will start next year in August.
Do I need to know how to speak Mandarin?
Yes, it will be delivered fully in Chinese. Yeah.
Thanks, Lawrence, for that. I actually so we've got down pat at the education aspect, you know, like setting the first stone or setting your the first step in a career transition or career shift, maybe I want to throw this out to Andrew. You know, aside to education, what other things you think a person or someone who has interest in transiting to the financial sector from somewhere else, what should this person do aside to maybe getting educated in, say, for example, fintech, right, or AML or whatsoever?
I mean, I don't think we want to underplay the importance of the education part, right? Particularly if it is, say, a transition to finance as such, right? Because there's a lot of specialist skills and there's a lot of specialist knowledge on there, right? But maybe like if I can talk about like say my sort of transition into the DeFi space, right? And we're talking like closer to 2013 was when I first started having my own sort of personal interest, particularly in cryptocurrency. And for me, like a big reason for this was because there was a lot of sort of similarities there with that market structure with the foreign exchange market, which is which I came from in the traditional financial world. A lot of that was self-interest taught though, right? And I'd say like the thing is when you move forward to 2024, right? There is actually so much information out there today. Like, you know, if I was a student today, it's much different to when I was a student before, right? You literally have all the information in front of you already, right? So, yes, getting the proper sort of education is kind of like your first stepping stone, and it's probably quite important to have, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be in finance. Like, it could be any sort of like education, but you kind of need that. And then it becomes like, you know, your own sort of like self-improvement and that on the topics. But then once you get to that, then there's avenues where you can start to network, right? So then there's things like fintech associations, crypto associations. You join these things, right? Because that's where you get to meet people who are working in the industry, and that's where you get to learn about what you can potentially do if you want to transition into this space. So, you know, there's a saying like, you know, relationships are just as important as what you actually know. That does actually hold true many times, right? So I'd say like, you know, post that, it's like you need to show that you have the desire and the interest to want to work in that space. You also need to figure out what you want to do, right? Because when it comes to the DeFi world, there's a lot of that is technology based, right? So that you actually need hard skill as opposed to soft skill. Soft skills are easily transferable, right? But that's when you start to build this thing in terms of network and building the relationships.
And I totally agree with that. You know, the networking opportunities afforded by events such as SFF, right, actually provides a very good place for people who want to make a transition into the finance sector or fintech sector to be able to understand what is required, what is needed, and how to take the next step into the sector. Like, so next, actually, I want to pose this question to Adam, right? As a recruiter, when you come to events such as SFF, when you speak to potential candidates, like, what do you want to see at the end of the day?
Yeah, I do look for that passion, that authenticity, you know, again, not just running after the shiny new thing for the sake of it, but maybe I would like to see how they've made the effort to learn a technology. For example, blockchain. How have they implemented something with blockchain in what they're doing? If it's generative AI, what problem are they helping to solve with it in the organization they're in, or if they're students, even maybe like projects they've used generative AI with, blockchain with. So I do like to see that kind of research that they've done beforehand and the effort that they've shown to get involved in a project actually using this tech. So that's what I look for.
Thanks, Adam. So just now, Andrew touched a little bit about hard skills and soft skills. And I know for a fact that Lawrence is very, how should I say, enthusiastic about this topic. Maybe you can shed a little bit more light on how domain knowledge, right, versus the soft skills that everyone has or seeks to nurture. How does that play a part in, nurturing the shift in careers?
Yeah, I think first of all, I don't really like the term soft skills. I prefer to use the term people skills. So as I was building the business, many years ago, well, certainly you do need to have competencies, right? Like you need to know certain stuff, or if you want to build an app, of course the technical skills of building the app is important. But when it comes to running a business, and then you have all of the different functions of business, right? Be it BD, marketing, operations, and all that. Now, a lot of it, just hard skills alone aren't going to get the whole team to move in a single direction, right? And therefore, that's when I kind of discovered the thing about having a strengths-based sort of leadership or strengths-based management that could actually help to rally the whole team together to empower the individuals to try to work in their areas of strength, and for the culture to embrace each of the individual strengths towards a common goal. Look, let's just take for example, if we were to, let's say, have a meeting. Let's say you're a small startup company or fintech company, and then you want to partner with a larger firm. It's not the hard skills that matter, right? You need to find a way to see how can you land that meeting, and during that meeting, how can you posture yourself, how can you have that additional leverage, right? Not to give all of you what precious little you have away, and put what you have, of value to your partner, and also helping the partner see common benefits that we could move things along. So those are influencing sort of skills that you still need to put forth, right, to get the business going. So that's one example about external interactions, but internally also, right? Even everywhere we go, every organization, we are bound to face some maybe internal issues, right? Conflicts, internal conflicts, and all of those also will require people skills to help to get the whole team to work together, and then because there's no point internal fighting, and then things also can't get done with this harmony within the team. Yeah.
And I totally agree with this on the people skills side of the house, right? Even in my own experience, moving from sell side to buy side, right? It's still a traditional finance side. And thereafter moving over to academia, I think the people skills were the real skills that actually helped me make a very smooth transition over to academia. It's not so much so as an investment manager, we don't exactly go and do things like pedagogy and all that kind of stuff, the teaching and learning stuff. But it's through the people skills, the soft skills, I still return back to soft skills, that actually helped me to navigate this change and this pivot into academia. And I'm sure that has helped Andrew as well, right? Very much to move on from a traditional kind of outfit into a tech-based outfit is not easy, right? Maybe you can share a little bit, a few scenarios or incidents that you encountered during your transition from TradFi to DeFi.
Okay, how about this? Like, instead of, say, from large organizations to startups, right? Like, which in this instance was from a large banking organizations in TradFi to literally a blockchain startup. And that's literally night and day, right? In terms of everything, right? Like, in terms of there's no huge corporate culture. The culture is developed by a a handful of people. And I mean, there's a lot of refreshing things with that, right? Like, so, like you don't have sort of large sort of amounts of bureaucracy and red tape that you would see in more sort of formed organizations. But then, of course, there are sort of other sort of like things that you encounter as well. Very different, I guess, problems or issues when it comes to things like, say, cash and cash flow and getting your customers. So I think, things like people skills or soft skills, that always matters, right? And that doesn't change, right? It doesn't change when you go from one organization to the other. That should remain constant. And so for me, it's like I still come back to that point where it's like, okay, so if I'm moving from a banking organization into a tech organization, I need to know, I need to know the ins and outs of what this new industry I'm playing in does, right? So, and you find very many similarities as well, right? Because ultimately, what do we do as organizations in that sort of commercial world? We look to generate revenue. And how do we look to generate revenue? We create products and services. But what are those products and services for? We need to figure that out. We need to figure out who our clients are. So all these things are similar, right? So like you still bring across that sort of similar mindset and skill set. It's just you need to know your industry inside out. Don't know if I answered your question.
If I could just add on, yeah, I mean, I totally subscribe to what Andrew is saying. And one other thing to pay attention to is that we're in financial services or we're in banking. Actually, at the end of the day, at the core of banking and financial services, what are we trying to sell? We're trying to sell trust, right? It's about trust, right? Why would people park the money with you? Why would people trust you to send money across from point A to point B? And if we further break down that word trust, I like to think of it in two components. Trust equals intention plus competence. So the competence part, well, a lot of it, is about, okay, if we don't know how to do certain thing properly, of course, we cannot deliver what we say that we're going to do. And that's not going to bring in trust. If you say that, I will ensure that your cash gets delivered the next day, but if the next day you don't see the cash in your account, immediately you lose the trust. So the competence part is important, and that's where a lot of the hard skill is necessary. Now, the intention part is about, am I doing in your interest or is it in my interest? And that's, a lot of it goes down to like maybe investment products or financial advisory. I mean, am I selling a product so that I can make more commission, or am I actually selling, offering you a product that actually helps you in your financial health and stuff like that? So when a customer recognizes those 2 points, well, I guess that's where trust gets built up over time, and then that's when multiple rounds of interaction, of delivery of those 2 rounds of intention and competence will help to breed a greater level of trust. Yeah.
Thanks, Lawrence. So actually, just now, when Adam was mentioning introducing himself, he mentioned that he made this career transition from being a translator to being a recruiter. Maybe I just want to suss out a little bit more details on that. What made you want to do the switch?
I mean, that was quite some time ago, by the way. But even back then, I could recognize that translation was being very much automated and disrupted. This was even before AI was a thing. That made me really look towards what else I can do. If it's not going to be translation, maybe look for what my passion points are, and my passion points were people skills or soft skills, however you want to describe it. I do like engaging with people, so that's what led me into recruitment. And how I did it was going out, meeting people from different functions, from different industries, learning about what they do, why they do it, see what their passion points are, see if they align or resonate with myself. And then I was able to make a bit more of a, I would say, informed decision. That was how I navigated my own transition. But yeah, thanks for the question.
No problem, Adam. No, so I totally get that. So I think when if I hear you correctly, basically you foresaw this potential disruption to your industry or the work that you're doing. And then at the same time you saw a passion, you had a passion towards people skills, towards people in general, right? And that's where you made the choice to not really the decision to shift gears. Maybe I can, so that is just 2 points in which we can say, that's how you decide or it's a precursor to your decision or decision making for career shifts. Maybe I can throw this to Lawrence. So Lawrence is a prolific writer on LinkedIn. Recently, I saw that he wrote something about being underemployed or being undervalued. I think this is very close to this question about sensing the time in which you need to do a shift. Maybe you can share with us a little bit more about what you wrote and how you think this can lead on to making that decision to shift.
Yeah, so, well, I guess that post was inspired by 2 articles I read. One was a Business Insider article who talked about underemployed, about maybe young graduates, they've graduated with a degree, but they are not being deployed in areas that actually use their skills. So the article was questioning whether the skills were relevant and whether people were actually finding their career path in accordance to their strengths. And likewise, maybe there's a group of more mature workers. They may have a lot of experience, but in the workforce they may not be employed in a capacity that fully utilizes their experience. And there's also this literature about fluid intelligence and crystallized intelligence, right? So, I mean, when we're younger, many of you are very young, so many of you will have lots of fluid intelligence, and that's about the high levels of energy that you can maybe just work on something for 20 hours and just sleep for 4 hours. I remember when I was younger, maybe Andrew as well, we could do that. I could no longer do that, right? I would get knocked out at 10 o'clock, and yeah. But hopefully, over the years, whatever hard knocks that we have, collected along the way, will crystallize that form of knowledge or wisdom that can help us to navigate our paths. So that is the when people are more mature in their career or in their age, they become more experienced and they will then know what to do. So the point I made about the post was that what if we, as organizations, we recognize those different strengths, and as individuals, we first look into ourselves to find out where are our own strengths, recognize the clues to our talent, and that can help us define a path in our career. Because even in the realm of fintech, there are so many different areas, right? There are so many different roles. Should you go into digital assets, or should you go into compliance, or should you go into sales, or engineering or AI? These are all very, very different paths, and therefore, if we can all first try to look internally and try to identify where might our talents be, that can give us a better pathway, right, to discover our where we should start our journey with. Yeah.
This is the classic knowing yourself, you win 100 battles, right? Exactly. And so actually, I want to ask Andrew as well. You've made the switch and transition from TradeFi to DeFi and back to TradeFi. When did the eureka moment come?
I think it's more about just 2 points that have been spoken about. when you identify certain trends, and when you start to understand that what that might potentially impact either what I'm doing, what the industry I am, what that impact is to the industry I am, or maybe how exciting this new sort of like technology or development or industry brings to what speaks to my passions or what interests me, right? So then I think like one of the sort of key things, or I mean, as you call it, eureka moments, was once I started understanding what blockchain technology was, and actually for me that was through certain education, right? So like I did a fintech certificate at MIT that kind of helped me get an understanding of 101. But what that also did was, as I mentioned earlier, build that network of people who was in that cohort that I was participating in, right? So like, once you start to sort of see something that develops, I guess for me that was the moment where it's like, I want to be involved in. At this time, I wanted to be involved in the crypto industry, right? So then my question to myself is, what role do I play? Right, so I've been essentially a trader like my entire career. What transferable roles do I now have the ability to play in crypto, right? And fortunately for me, there's many similar roles, right? You can be a trader in crypto, you can be sales, business development, relationship management, because as I spoke to earlier, market structures are quite similar. Right, so that's very useful when you're transitioning over, and that is why there's a lot of talent that moves from TradFi to DeFi. So I guess for me, like I guess it was just the point in time when I saw, okay, this is going to be quite exciting, and it was still very nascent at the time, and even today, as much as digital assets has grown, it's still very small compared to TradFi. Right, so it's not like it's too late now. It's still super early. Like regulations are still being formed, right, or developed over time. So like for me, it was just that moment was just when I thought, okay, perhaps at some point, if this is not replacing what I'm doing today, it's going to sit alongside what I'm doing today, and then maybe in the future it will come together as one.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just add to what everyone's saying here. I think with the introspection that Prof. Young was saying, you'll find out what you're naturally inclined towards, and you will have hard skills or people skills that can be transferred. And to Andrew's point, the industry is still emerging. It's still new. I mean, job titles like blockchain developer, smart contract auditor, they didn't exist, until very recently. So there's still a lot of room to come into the industry and make your contribution. But of course, that introspection needs to happen first, and also you need to bring a certain set of relevant hard skills, I would say, to the new job that or the new employer that you're going to be interviewing with.
Thanks so much Adam, for that. So actually, I wanted to do a quick wrap up of how the various discussion points, and ultimately come to a conclusion in how we can actually map out our career shift into the financial sector. I think very clearly, this panel, our first step is really about education, finding ways and means in which we can get ourselves in tune with the sector. From a very basic education point of view. Thereafter, asking ourselves, what are our innate characteristics, where our people skills stand, and how then we can use these skills to transfer into a new sector, right? And thereafter, networking, obviously, coming to events, trade shows such as Singapore FinTech Festival, understanding where the industry is headed, understanding what the industry needs, and then doing a sort of analysis where you are, and then where the industry is, what you require, and then drawing the dots there. And then finally, of course, to make that next step out and really reach out to our prospective employers, right? So maybe I can take this time, we don't really have much time, to see if there's any particular question, burning questions that you have for us, the panel, with regards to, mapping out a career shift into the financial sector. Sorry, there's a mic coming over to you. Yes.
Hi, good morning. My name is Mozan. So, my question is to Adam specifically that you did mention that soft skills are the way to go, and this is a very important aspect. So, certain tips or certain ways of improving that, probably, according to you, that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I mean, there's many communities out there that you can engage with, but I do believe the more you come into those communities with, in terms of hard knowledge and research that you've done, the more you'll get out of it. So if you go along to a meetup that's about blockchain and you don't know anything about it, it's still going to be valuable. You'll still meet those people that could potentially become your future mentors in the space. But if you come with even just a little bit of background research, and the quality of the discussions you'll have in that session will be much greater, and you'll get even more out of it. So I would say put yourself out there. There's meetups, there's associations, there's FinTech Festival, Singapore FinTech Festival today. There's lots of booths around with people willing to speak to you. Just bring your curiosity and ideally a little bit of background research, and then, you'll just practice makes perfect. Get yourself out there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Actually, if I could expand on this, so I had previously in 2017, when I was still a sell-side analyst, right, trying to go over to blockchain, I had zero knowledge. I only knew at that point in time, 2017, 2018 was when Bitcoin hit the first all-time high of about 18,000. Then as an analyst, I was like, wow, 18,000, my God, I have to go into this. So then I went and start to speak to people, and being someone who is always been into traditional assets, equities and stuff, I had no idea for whatever it is, what Bitcoin actually constitutes. How does it actually work? So, I think I didn't do that much research. What I did was to ask questions. I think importantly, you have to ask the questions. Once you've gotten the inputs, right, the advice or the directions, that leads you on. I think the intellectual curiosity that Adam really brought out is very important if you are looking to do a career shift, right? Sorry.
Yeah, and maybe I can add on a bit. Maybe to just help you further with your introspection, right? You could choose whichever domain, but maybe you can look at your own 5 clues to talent. The first one is yearning. What do you yearn? What do you find yourself desiring, right? And that informs your initial interest. The second one is when you tend to be doing things that you like, you also find that you get into a state of rapid learning. That means you can learn very quickly, and you can learn quicker than the others, right? Because that's something that your talent is moving you. And then the third one is that you get into a state of flow, right, more easily. So state of flow means that you just lose sense of time. You don't even know that you can go hungry for 2 days and it doesn't matter, right? Because you're just so encapsulated in the things that you're doing. And then the fourth one is try to see whether there are glimpses of excellence, right? So maybe you yourself recognize that, hey, oh, that is a job well done. Or somebody else comes to you and say, wow, how do you do that? That's incredible, right? So these are clues of excellence. And then the last clue is that is satisfaction. That after doing all that, you want to do it again. You just feel that, oh gosh, that's so me. I want to do it all over again. So these may be some clues for you to think about as you find your space. Yeah.
Thanks, Lawrence, for that. Yep, so we have come to the end of this panel. Thanks again to Lawrence, Adam, and Andrew for gracing this event and agreeing to come over for this panel to let me moderate. And thank you to MES for this opportunity to have this panel. We will be here, so if, let's say, you have any questions, burning questions, please feel free to approach us. You know where we come from, what we have done already. So definitely just approach us. Very open people, right? Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Ever wanted to become your own boss, start your own business? Stay right put. We'll have a next panel session coming up.